Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and today Apple released the all-new iOS 26 Developer Beta 1. Now I know I did say that I would be installing this beta. However, I'm not yet going to install it. I will be, but I'm not going to install it right now. So currently, as I'm making this video, I am currently running iOS 18.5. However, I am going to talk about everything that is new in iOS 26 Developer Beta 1. And there is a good amount of features to talk about. I do have pictures and screenshots that I took of the update. So let's jump right into this. And we're going to start with my most favorite thing of all, the home screen. Now, while the icons for the most part do look the same, the app folders and app dock kind of got an update. So in light mode, if I go into light mode here, and let me just turn off dark mode here. So in light mode, if we take a look at the app dock and folders around it, you can see that you can still very much, for the most part, see the app folder that I just clicked into. Well, in iOS 26, they completely updated this. You can't really see the app folder as much. And if you do, it kind of has like a glass effect to it. This is a really nice change in iOS 26. And to be completely honest with you, I do love this new change. And that's not the only update that they did to the home screen. There is another update. There is this new clear mode feature where you basically can, it's kind of like tinting your icons. If you go into your icon tinting here, it's kind of like tinting your icons to make it look like this. This is the new clear mode. Now, I tinted these in iOS 18, but it looks kind of similar in iOS 26. Also, when you go into sort of the design, when customizing these icons, when you go to edit and then customize, they have updated the icon picker. They've updated the dark and the small and large icons. There is a new clear icon. Let me see if I can find where they've updated the overall design here. So here is where they have updated sort of the new overall design. We have our typical light, dark, and there is a new clear option, but I believe the one that they said that was the light icon, I think that one now says default. But as you can see, the app picker no longer has the black bar around it. It's sort of that glass sort of design, just like I mentioned with the app dock and folders that sort of surrounds it. Control Center also gets an update. One of the updates in Control Center, how it blurs out my wallpaper. In iOS 26, the wallpaper is completely dark within the Control Center, and that is in the all-new iOS 26 update. Image Playground, along with Apple Developer, have a new look to them. So there is a new look to both the Image Playground and the Apple Developer app. Now, this is a screenshot that I took. I don't have an iPhone that does support Apple Intelligence, so I can't show you Image Playground, but there is a new look to the new Image Playground and Developer app. Now, many people who updated to iOS 18 and were very frustrated with the Photos app, this next feature you're going to really like. Apple has updated the Photos app, and I mean they've updated it in a way to where it kind of makes you feel like iOS 17. They have brought back the bottom tab bar. Instead of scrolling up in a single view, they brought back the tab bar where pin collections, people and pets used to be. They have integrated it within the tab bar in iOS 26. Safari also gets an update. And to be completely honest with you, this is one update that I've wanted for a very long time. At least ever since the iOS 15 early betas, when I've seen videos of them, Apple brought back the floating tab bar or some form of it in iOS 26. I don't know if it picks up while I'm screen recording here, but Apple brought back the floating tab bar and they put sort of their menus with new tabs and refreshing and all those other things sort of in a menu bar. So Apple brought back this new design, the new tab bar within iOS 26. They sort of brought back the floating tab bar. And there's also some more updates. Phone gets one of the biggest updates where it kind of has that feature that is in Apple Mail, where you can turn on list view or go back to categories. We now have that feature that is in Apple Mail. And also, I forgot to mention this. The Apple Mail app looks completely different. They have updated the Apple Mail app. This is the Mail app in iOS 18. And this is the one, it looks a little different in iOS 26, and you can't really see the app dock around it how you can on iOS 18. That's because that new glass look that is in iOS 26 takes effect. There is also an update to the camera app, but before I get to that, I first got to mention that there is also one update to point out to the camera icon. They kind of brought back the old camera icon. Now then, the camera app in iOS 26 looks completely different. While you have video and I believe the yellow one is the photos, it now takes effect with the glass-inspired look. Video and photo is now at the bottom, and I believe you can go through all of your toggles like video, photo, cinematic mode, selfie, slow-mo, and much more, but they put it at the bottom, whereas before on iOS 18, you can see it here, it's at the top, and that's not the only thing. You can see that the top and bottom has a tab bar. But in iOS 26, there is no tab bar, or not much of one. So there is lots of updates throughout in iOS 26. In iMessage, you now have conversational backgrounds. I'm not going to go into any of my iMessage as I don't know how to blur out the numbers, but you do have a new background within iMessage. I personally really like this, as the black and white background could look kind of boring. So Apple updated the design where instead of having a simple black background behind your iMessage conversations, you now have an actual background. You can set it to a photo. You can even set it as like the dark ocean to make it look relaxing. That is a nice new change in iOS 26. There is also a new Games app. Now, this isn't going to show up for me as I'm not running the beta, at least not yet, but I will be absolutely sure to show that in the video as soon as I update to the public beta next month. But not only do we have a Games app, We also now have a preview app. This is new in iOS 26 as well. Here is a quick look at the Games app in iOS 26. Also, the preview app. To me, this looks so much like photos, or files rather. This kind of reminds me of files in iOS 26. And I'm not sure why my files kind of just jumped around right there. But this reminds me of files in iOS 26. And there is tons more updates. Like when you take a screenshot, you now have visual intelligence. Or let me take another screenshot. If we go into that screenshot, you now have visual intelligence like features that is in iOS 26, where you can ask it to update different things or tell you what something is. That reminds me of Gemini, how there is a feature where you can screen record and Gemini can tell you everything that is on your screen. Now, there is so many more features, like in FaceTime. You now have these super large squares for your different contact posters. I think that this is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best features that they could have added to FaceTime. You now have large squares for your different contacts within FaceTime. And also you can see here, this is the new iOS 26 wallpaper. Now, again, I am not running iOS 26. This wallpaper I got off of the internet. There is a dark mode version, as you saw in the screenshots. But I am running iOS 18, as you can see by this wallpaper here. Now, there is tons more features in iOS 26, and I am going to make a short video for both my YouTube and TikTok channel, which is called Hawkins Tech. So make sure you guys follow me on my TikTok as well. So as far as what's new or what else is in this update, those are really all of the features that I mentioned in iOS 26. And I'm also happy to report that the iPad, more in particular, my iPad Air from 2020, it gets the new window management, which is basically Stage Manager. They basically brought it to all iPads. I will mention that in my second video for the iPad, either today or tomorrow. Again, I'm also not running iPadOS 26 beta, but that may change next month as well. As far as what else to expect, well, since we now have iOS 26 out of the way, the next update is iOS 18.6. I know, not as exciting, but that update is going to bring some stability and performance to iOS 18. And oh, I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this at the start of the video, but I guess I forgot to mention it. The supported iPhones for iOS 26. Unfortunately, if you have an iPhone XR, XS, and XS Max, those devices are no longer supported with iOS 26. The new iPhones that support iOS 26 is the iPhone 11 and newer. And for the iPad, Apple dropped support for the iPad 7th generation. That's fine because for me, I have an iPad Air, but I used to own an iPad 7th generation, so that would have been a bummer if I still had that device. But Apple no longer supports that device. It's iPad Air 3rd gen and newer, iPad Pro 3rd gen 12.9 inch and newer, 11-inch iPad Pro 1st gen and newer, as well as iPad 8th gen and newer. The iPad 7th generation is no longer supported, and the iPhone 11 and newer are the supported devices. So that's everything with iOS 26. Expect Beta 2 around the week of the 23rd, and I'll keep you guys up to date with the latest information. My name is Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as subscribe to my TikTok channel called Hawkins Tech. A link is in the description of my YouTube channel. So make sure you guys follow me on TikTok, as I will have a short video there as well. I'm Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I will see you guys later. Peace.